Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome everyone. So, Jazakallah to everyone for arriving on time and waiting patiently. I apologize for the inconvenience due to some technical issues. We haven't been able to start the class, but we'll start it now. And as usual, we'll start it with the opening prayer. Can I have G3 512 for the opening prayer?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, G3 512, can you please recite the opening prayer for everyone and start with Tawbas and Tasmiyah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Lord, expand my mind and make my task easy for me. Taha 26:27.
Jazakillah sunil jaza.
Jazakallah.
So today is the lesson 29 of the course, and inshallah in today's lesson we will be revising Surah Ar-Rahmān verse 42 to verse 46. These verses were taught last week, and there is quite a lot of them, so we thought it would be a good idea to revise them before we start memorizing new verses. And for those of you who haven't been able to memorize these verses, you'll have tonight to catch up. Okay, so before I start the revision, I'll quickly remind everyone of our class etiquettes. So I hope that everyone performed wuzu before joining the class. Make sure that you are wearing clean clothes and that your head is covered with a scarf or a cap. Find a quiet place to sit down and attend the class. This is very important, especially if you're going to get a turn on the mic. It is important that the teacher and your fellow students can hear you clearly. Again, we hope that one of the parents or an elder sibling is sitting with you to help you with anything if needed. And lastly, make sure that you have joined with the correct ID. So if you click on the participant list, you'll be able to see what name you have joined with. Is it your device name? Is it your personal name? Or is it actually your student ID? So if it's not student ID, make sure to rename yourself. And yeah, that's it in terms of the class etiquettes. So last Friday, as part of your homework, there was a knowledge quest activity as well. So let's see, have you guys done the knowledge quest? So raise your hand if you have actually done this part of the homework. Okay, that's really good. I see some students raising their hands. This is really nice to see that all of you are engaging with the homework. So let's have G3687. So the question for the knowledge quest was, how many times does the word as-samawat appears in Surah Ar-Rahmān verses 1 to 46, and what does it mean?
It appears 2 times in Surah Ar-Rahmān, and it means the sky.
Very good, excellent. So I think that all of the students, those of you who raised your hands, you would agree with G3687 that the word as-samawat, it appears twice, 2 times in verses 1 to 46. It appears in verse 30 like this, man fis samawati, and then in verse 34, aqtar as-samawati. Okay, but the word obviously is the same and used in a slightly different context. and the meaning of the word is the heavens or the sky. Okay, so excellent G3687, and well done to all of the students who actually took part in the knowledge quest activity and did found the answer to this question. So I think our main teacher is here now. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Apologies, that's the nature of technology. Jazakallah for taking the class. So I shall take over from here. Jazakumullah. Okay, so well done to those students who did manage to do the knowledge quest. It's really important to do the homework as is set so that you can learn effectively. Okay, so on to the next part of our class today. So we're just going to run through the, 1 second, I just realized I've got to share my screen in order for you to, here we go. Okay, so 1 second, let me just skip on to the main part of our class. Okay. So we've just been through the knowledge quest and we should be going on to the revision lesson today. So the revision lesson today is verses 42 to 43 of Surah Ar-Rahmān. We should be going through it today in terms of the split word translation, and it's important to know what we're reciting, what we're learning, and therefore so we will be looking at the words today and what they mean. So I'll start that off for you for now, and inshallah we'll go through this, and then hopefully some students can practice with me verses 42 to 43 in a moment. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يعرف means will be known. المجرمون, the guilty. بسيماهم, by their marks. فيؤخذ, so they be seized. بالنواصي, with the forelock. والأقدام, and the feet. فبأي, which then. آلاء, of the favors. ربكما, of your Lord. تكذبان, will you to deny. هذه, this is. Jahannam, the hell. التي, which. يكذب بها, they deny. المجرمون, the guilty. يطوفون, they go around. بينها, between it. وبين, and between. حميم, boiling. آن, water. فبأي, which then. آلاء, of the favors. ربكما, of your Lord. تكذبان, will you to deny. Okay, so that was just a quick run over through the meaning of what we're learning today and going over. So, okay, on to the next part. And so there's a practice session, and I'd like a few students to go through this with me. So I'm just going to choose a couple of students. You just wait 1 moment. Okay. So G3 562. Assalamu alaikum. G3 562. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you today?
Good.
Excellent. So are you ready to recite with me?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to start with ta'awuz?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
Go ahead. So do you want to recite from here onwards?
Ya yu'rafu.
Okay, so would you like me to recite? You can follow me and hopefully everybody else can follow behind me too, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. Yu'raful
Yu'raful
mujrimuna
mujrimuna
bisimahum
bisimahum
fayu'khadhu bin nawasi khadhu bin nawasi.
fayu'khazu bin nawasi.
Okay, this noon here needs to be held for a few seconds. Bin nawasi
Bin nawasi
wal aqdam
wal aqdam.
fabi ayyi.
Fabi ayyi ala'i rabbikuma tukadziban.
Okay, well done. This here, this mad here, this is a mad al-kabir, so we should elongate it a bit longer. So if you can, go ahead and try that again.
Fabi ayyi ala'i rabbikuma tukadziban.
Well done. Okay. Hadihi
Hadhihi
jahannamu
jahannamu
jahannamul
jahannamul ti
mulla. So this is a shadda above a lam. Mulla.
mullati
Yukadhibu
yukadzibu
bihal mujrimun
bihal mujrimun
yatufuna
yatufuna
bainaha
bainaha
wa baina
wa baina
hamimin an.
hamimin an. Fabi ayyi
Go ahead.
Fabi ayyi ala'i rabbikuma tukadziban.
Excellent. Jazakallah. So you elongated this correctly as well at the end. That was really good reading. Jazakallah G3 562. Jazakallah. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly ask another student. So let's see who. Okay, G3 568. Assalamu alaikum. G3 568.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. So do you want to go ahead and start with Da'uz and you can go through this practice session with me quickly too?
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmānir-Rahīm.
Okay, 1 second. Sorry, if you just wait. Go ahead. So if you could read that from here.
يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ بالنواصي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم مرآن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Jazakallah G3568, that was really, really well read. Okay, so just quickly, while we're going through this, you read really well. Your recitation is really good. Just the elongation here, if I just quickly change my highlight, there we go. Right, so this elongation is very important, just to ensure that you recite it for long enough. Just over here, this meme and alif, what do you know about this rule here?
I think it's meme.
Okay, so when you see a letter with two strokes on it, so that could be two fathas, two kasras, or two dhammas, then that's a munawwan letter. It's a letter of tanween, and that means that after this letter there is a noon sakin in this letter. So when we recite these rules, there are specific rules in terms of how we recite the noon sakin. They can be read partially, or it can be read very clearly. And according to what letter, you have to think about what letters there that follows the meme, the munawwan letter, which in this case is a double kasra, and you have to figure out whether you have to say min, which is very clear noon, or if you have to do an ikhfa, which means a partial nasalization of the noon. And in the case of ikhfa, we say mil rather than min. But in this case, as you can see, this is an alif, and this is a letter of haruf halaki. And when you see this letter, alif, in this case, we say min, quite clearly, not mil, okay? So it's just in this case, that's when you say min rather than mil. So
Okay.
would you like to read that again? So, wa bayna.
وَبَيْنَهَا مِيمٍ.
Okay, well done, brilliant. Jazakallah, that was really good reading. So you recite very well. So well done, Jazakallah for that. Okay, Jazakallah G3568. Okay, so we're going to go on to the Hifz part of our lesson today. So I'm just going to choose some students quickly. If you just give me one moment to choose them. Okay, so G3521. Assalamu alaikum. G3521.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, have you done your hifz for this week? Were you able to memorize the Holy Qur'an?
Yes.
The previous verses. And you've come on before, and have you recited some of the verses before?
Yeah.
Okay, and where have you read up to?
I've read up to 41.
Okay, that's really good, because that's where we're up to. Okay, so would you like to recite up to, have you learned any more after that?
I've learned up till verse 43. I'm still learning the verses.
Okay, wonderful. So would you like to go from verse 41 to 43, and I'll listen to your hifz for today.
Okay. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يعرف المجرمون.
I think so. If you're reading from 40, you're reading from 42 or 42 onwards?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, that was my mistake. Go ahead. يعرف
المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ بالنواصي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
And that's up to verse 43. Well done, Jazakallah for that. Okay, so while you're reciting, so the elongation, I've been saying this to all of the students, the elongation has to be quite long. So when you're reciting the verse, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, you can see on screen, so you can see over here, this is a Madde Kabir. Do you know how long we recite that for?
Over 4 seconds.
Yeah, so try to do that once. If you read it off the screen, if you can do that for me quickly.
Okay. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ ربكما تكذبان.
Okay, that was really good. And that's how we should be reciting it. You can recite it slightly longer as well, but it has to be really long. And remember, this surah contains this verse multiple times, and it's important to get it correct. So if you could focus on that, that's fine. Other than that, there was one moment where actually, and when I recited it too, sometimes this happens, is that there was a slight jerk sound, because this ayn is quite tricky. There's no jerk sound on the ayn. So we read this as yur rather than yur. Yeah, this one here.
Okay.
Can you try that? You're.
Your.
That's better. Yes, mashallah. Your recitation is really good and your pronunciation is very good as well. So well done. Well done. G35. You're G3521, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, jazakallah for that. Okay, wonderful. So okay, next student. So jazakallah. Okay, one moment. Let me choose another student. So do we have G53? Okay, let's just quickly check which student. Okay, one moment. Okay, can I have G 5369? Assalamu alaikum. G3 569.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam rahmatullah. So you're G3569.
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to recite? So will you be reciting from, where will you be reciting from?
32.
32 onwards. Okay, so do you want to start?
Yes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Go ahead. One moment, sorry. Go ahead. So you're starting from verse 35, did you say?
30.
Go ahead, start. If you start reciting.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Papi أي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يسأله عليكما
يسأله من في السماوات
والأرض
والأرض. It's okay. So كل يوم هو في شأن.
هو في
شأن.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا.
Okay. Sorry, can I just stop you there a second? So you're reciting quite well, but can I just stop you? So we'll just say up to 33. So you've read very well. So just remember, while you're reciting, how are you learning while you're reciting?
I read it
How do
three
you
times. I read it 3 times, then I read it without the Quran.
Okay. So do you listen to it online as well?
No.
Okay. So there's so online.
I listen to my sister and my mom.
Okay. Okay, that's really, really good learning, because obviously you're learning together, which is important. It's important to have somebody to keep an eye on what you're reading and whether it's right or not. A good way to learn is to go on alislam.org, and if you go on to the Holy Qur'an, you can listen to the Qari Sab, and if you copy how he's reciting, it's much easier to learn as well. You might find that useful. So if you could do that, so inshallah, next time we listen to you, hopefully you'll be able to have learn again. Okay, Jazakallah.
Okay.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah G3 569. Okay, one moment, let's check 1 second. Okay, so can I have you have a sibling as well, G3 569. You have a sibling, G3 568. 1 moment, let me see if I can get you back. Okay, G3 568.
Yes.
Yeah. Assalamu
I
alaikum.
just read.
Oh, did you? Okay, Jazakallah, that's fine. Okay. Right, okay. 1 moment, let's choose another student. So G3 577. Assalamu alaikum. G3 577. Assalamu alaikum. Can you unmute yourself? Okay. Let's go to G3 57. 1 moment. Okay, 1 moment. Okay, so G3 562. Assalamu alaikum. G3 562. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so do you want to where are you going to be reciting from?
Verse 29.
Verse 29. So do you want to start?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسأله ما في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان
Jazakallah, sorry, can I just interrupt you a second? So G3 562, could you recite that verse again? Could you go slightly slowly? So start from Ya ma'ashar al-jinni.
يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان.
Okay, and are you so that was from verse 30 to 34. Yeah.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان
فإذا
شقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. That's all I know.
Okay, Jazakallah. So that's verse 41. So well done. That was really good reading. Okay, just one quick thing. As you're reading, I can see that you know the rule of ikhfa very, very well. And there are parts where you read it really well, but there are parts where you missed it as well. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to go over it. And when you're reciting, just bear in mind what you're reciting and how you're reciting it. So, for example, on one of the verses, there was an ikhfa, you did it completely very well. I can't remember which one it was, I've marked it, 1 second. Okay, so yeah, it was verse 34, where you were unable to do it there. So these two verses, let me just take you back to the verses that we're looking at. So we have verse 34 over here. If we just go back 1 moment, sorry. Okay, sorry. There we go. Okay, so verse 34 over here, you can see this verse has a lot of ikhfas in it. Let me just grab my highlighter. Okay, so when you're reciting this, there are moments, so you're reciting NQC, correct? And then when you came over here, I think rather than tanfudu, it was tanfudu. Over here, again, the same mistake, over here and over here. So I think these things are just, they're small mistakes, and what happens over time, we develop habits. And those habits kind of take over. And you just need to be very careful about how you're reciting. You read really well, and I think that it would be a shame to not read it effectively, to make sure that when you learn, listen to it online as well, so that you know you're reading it correctly. And as I said, I do understand you do know the rules, which is really good, and there are parts where you did read it correctly, so just keep an eye on that. So Jazakallah for that. G3 562. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah.
Okay, can I have G3 671 to the mic? So G3 671, hold on, let me just see if I can unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. Do you want to go ahead and recite? Let me just quickly come off of that so that we can. Right, okay, go ahead. And if you could tell me where you're going to recite from first.
Should I recite the whole thing from where I know up to?
Yes, yes, you can go ahead and recite it from the beginning if you like, yes.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا وزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان.
Okay, Jazakallah, G3 671. Can I just stop you a second? So it's really important to recite it very slowly so that we can recite it correctly. So could you go a tiny bit slower, and then if you recite onwards from verse 11. So
والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشركين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسعن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ بالنواسي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Okay, that's the first, and that's up to the second rukun. So that's verse 46. Okay, so Jazakallah G3 671. That was really good memorization. You've learnt it very well, and your memory holds well. Okay, so while we're reciting, it's really important to take it slowly, and the reason it's important to take it slowly, sorry, one moment, is because while we're reciting, so the rules are still important while we're reciting, and it's really important to learn the Holy Qur'an as it's written. And in some instances, when we recite quickly, what happens is some of the rules tend to get ignored, or maybe some of the rules don't you can't do them efficiently. So for example, the verse فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, that verse has got a really long mud in it, and if you were to recite quite fast, you are to miss it. And there were many times you repeated it, but there were moments when you missed it in terms of the elongation, and that's really important to remember that. Another thing is, so for example, in verse 34, while you were reciting, so let me just quickly scoot down onto verse 34. So okay, here we are. So again, while you were reciting this verse, over here, what happened was that as we were reading Jinni, so we have here this rule here. You need to hold on to the Nun Mushaddad in order for it to be a nasalization. Yes, over here there's ikhfa. Sometimes you were reading it correctly, and sometimes it was incorrect. But you have, in certain instances, you aren't able to express it properly because of the speed in which you're reciting. So it's really important to take your time and recite the Holy Qur'an with due care and attention. Do you want to quickly read this verse for me? Ya ma'ashara, over here onwards. G3671, are you still there? G3671.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Okay, so do you want to quickly read this verse for me from here onwards? Now, if you could read it slowly, if you go ahead and recite that for me.
يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان.
Okay, Jazakallah, that was really, really well read. You recite the Holy Quran really well, and I'm sure you know the rules as well. So again, in this situation, you express this as a izhar as opposed to an ikhfa. So you read it as insi. This, because of the scene that follows it, is a ikhfa, insi. Again, the same rule here, because you need to see the nun sakin, what follows it, and in this case, it's a anta, tanfudu. And this is how we recite this, yeah? So it's really important to get that part of it correct. And while you're reciting, just make sure that you adhere to all of the rules, okay? Jazakallah G3 671. Do you have a sibling as well, 672? I think 672 has read before, is that correct? Would G3 672 like to read? Like to
No, thank you.
recite?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to a different student. Jazakallah. Okay, so G36, one moment, sorry. G36, 664. Do we have G3664? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So G3664, where will you be reciting from?
41.
Okay, so do you want to go ahead and recite from 41 onwards quickly?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فتنخذوا بالنواصي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Okay, Jazakallah. So that was really good reading, and that was up to verse 46, yes. Okay, so okay. Verse 40, if you could start one more time and recite it again from the beginning. If you could read that for me, if you could recite that verse again. So it begins with فَيَوْمَئِذٍ.
فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذَنبِهِ إِنسٌ وَلَا تَنْتَصِرَانِ.
Yeah, so okay, this verse here, let me show it to you, is actually verse 40. Let me quickly scoot down, is quickly read that for me. Oh, it's gone, here we go. Okay, so this is the verse that we're looking at. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ. Read from here onwards.
فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذَنبِهِ إِنسٌ وَلَا جَانٌ.
Okay, so you said, I think you said Nasiran, I'm very sure. So just be careful what you're memorizing. How are you learning?
By the Quran.
Okay, so it's really important to have somebody check what you're learning as well as while you're reciting, yes? I'm sure an adult is helping you, maybe it's your mom. Could you make sure that what you're learning is correct? Because sometimes it just becomes habit, and we just need to make sure that the verses that we're learning are the right verses, okay? So Jazakallah. Okay, just a couple of things. So for example, in verse number 43 over here, let me see, 44 actually, you read one letter that was actually, it was Jahannam more, and you read it as ma. So you just have to be really careful how you're reciting this one here. Can you see that on there that I've highlighted on screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so you read it as Jahannama rather than Jahannamu. So these things, that's why it's really important to have an adult check what you're learning as you go along. And as I said to the other students as well, it's really useful to listen to the Qari Sahib online on alislam.org just to make sure that you're getting it correct as well. Maybe you should listen to them once, pause it and recite it yourself, and then listen to the Qari Sahib again, just making sure you've got the verse correct, yeah? Okay? Jazakallah. Other than that, your recitation is very good. There is certain places where ikhfa, the same rule applies, where other students have made the same mistake. But for example, when you see a noon sakin, what follows that noon sakin or a tanween is important, and how we express it is important as well. And so you should be doing ikhfa at places where it's ikhfa, and you should be doing izhar at places where it's izhar. Okay.
Okay.
And that can be checked by going online and making sure that you recite well with with the Qadi Sahib. Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, so I'm going to ask temporary ID 1. This is the ID that the guy in charge has given to a student. Temporary ID 1. Can I quickly ask you to unmute? Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Would you like to read? If you just like to start from the beginning, and then we can just quickly go through the recitation. How much have you learned?
I've done verses 1 to 10.
Okay, go ahead. If you could go ahead and read.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Ar-Rahmān. Allama al-Qur'an. Khalaqal insan. Allamahul bayan. Ash-shamsu wal-qamaru bihusban. Wan-najmu wash-shajaru yasjudan. وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ أَلَّا تَطْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَا تُخْسِرُوا الْمِيزَانَ.
Jazakallah. That was really, really well learned. So, Jazakallah. Okay, so essentially, I would say that just quickly, let's go back to the beginning. And what I would like you to do is just focus on a few of the rules. You read really well. Just again, the elongation of this verse here. If you want to quickly read it, I'll show you. 1 second. 1 second. Okay. So just an elongation over here. This one here. Can you quickly read that for me? How would you recite it? You can start from the beginning. So فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ
فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ.
Okay, so just the elongation is not long enough. It has to be very long. Okay, so آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Yeah?
Okay.
That's one of the important things that you, because this verse is often repeated in this surah, and it's important to get this right. Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, Jazakallah. I'm temporary. Jazakallah. Okay, so on to the last part of the class. So that brings our class to a close for today. I'd like to choose a student. If you just wait one moment, I'll see which student. G3530. Assalamu alaikum. G350. Assalamu alaikum. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Would you like to recite the dua for today?
Yes, also, can you show me the homework again?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry. Of course. So the homework for today is, thank you for that reminder, is to memorize the surah. Sorry, there's no memorization today. We're just going to be revising Surah Ar-Rahmān verses 1 to 46. So whatever we've gone through today and whatever you've been doing so far is what you should be learning, inshallah. And then tomorrow you can come online and revise it with the teachers. Just a quick run through this. Surah Ar-Rahmān means the gracious God, chapter 55, part 27. It has 3 rukus, comprised of 79 verses, and it was revealed in Mecca. Jazakallah for that reminder. In G3530. Go ahead if you want to recite the ending prayer.
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahim. Allahumma arhamni bil-Qur'an al-azim waj'alhu li imama wa nuran wa hudan wa rahmah.
Okay, Jazakallah. And the translation?
O Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great. and make it for me, the leader, the light, the guidance, and the mercy.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah G3530. And that brings our class to a conclusion for today. So Jazakumullah, Aslan Jazak for joining today's class. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.